where did these character designs actually come from? Like, what is that? Anyway, Ribcage was the first character I designed and was originally based off of both my appearance and the nickname my brother had given me at the time, as he had very kindly dubbed me Ribcage after an inside joke. One day, I made a comment on how you should never ask Ribcage for one of their ribs, and this later led to the creation of this meme. A few of you may be wondering how on earth the design could have been based off of me. However, it is important to note that at the time, Ribcage was meant to be an aspect of myself, not their own character, in addition to the fact that my hair was much longer at the time. Ribcage's signature side sweep was actually coming from a way in which I preferred to have my hair in a side part because I believed it looked nicer, because I did have a really dodgy bob at the time, But on to the next one, radiation. After writing my initial chapter 1, I eventually decided to introduce a second reoccurring character, and that was Ribcage's sibling Radiation. The initial design was intended to be similar, though not identical, so they ended up with a similar bob cut, as well as a few other design features, namely their bandana, which is something I still couldn't remove as it is an integral aspect of the design, because it was a very much intentional choice when I put it there the first time, so when I did the redesign, I had to add it. Because when I went into designing the character of Radiation, I had the idea of a genetic mutation that allowed them to withstand the effects of radiation poisoning, which also resulted in their glow-in-the-dark bones. Hello, Radium Boom reference! The bandana was actually originally intended to be used as Radiation explores the northern hemisphere, which is severely irradiated. And they were doing this before the events of Chapter 1 in the Book of Bones. However, this was never explicitly stated in the Book of Bones, and the bandana was intended to keep radioactive dust out of their lungs, even though they're immune to radiation poisoning. It's a similar reason to why, when I redesigned them, I introduced the goggles. In this lovely picture that was my redesign, the only thing I have, even though I have character sheets for their original design, I just had to. And a character not many of you will necessarily know about will be Ash. I believe my proposal for the design of Ash did come next, but when designing the character, they weren't intended to be in the Book of Bones. They weren't intended to have any relation to it. It was actually supposed to be related to, it was actually supposed to be related to the Abscon stuff, and yeah, it was just initially intended to be a fun, easy cosplay idea, because I did look similar to the design for Ash at the time, and I was planning on using cans, old Coca... No, they weren't Coca-Cola cans, they were Tango cans. They had these really fun colours on. I was intending to use them for the armour, which is why they have the fancy can armour that they do, which is a neat little thing I came up with for the post-apocalyptic world it's in. But I'd never made the cosplay. But it did result in them looking like the two other characters, because they were based off of me. So that did create an internal link. However, they were never going to be mentioned in the Book of Bones, and they still aren't going to be mentioned in the Book of Bones. They're mentioned in the Book of Flash, but not the Book of Bones, because it's an ongoing joke that Ash exists in the Book of Bones, but we just don't talk about them. It's funny. We just don't talk about Ash. I don't remember if I've published the section with Ash in the Book of Bones. I definitely wrote it down somewhere. But they've also popped up in a few Rogue videos, which is why, like, some of you might know Ash, some of you might not. I do know you, Book of Bones theory. You do know about Ash. I know you do. You will have seen the videos. But it's like also in one of the videos, and like in my brain, internally noted that Ash and Radiation were considered the two biggest successes before Ribcage, and the pair did know each other. Radiation and Ash have met each other. They do know each other. Like, they knew each other before Gibrage and Ribcage were just even there. And, you know, but speaking of Gibrage was originally implanted into my head after my brother, the same one who dubbed me Ribcage, mixed up the RNG in Ribcage and accidentally called me Gibrage one time. My initial thoughts when creating them was to create someone who appeared innocent but only ever felt rage. Like, that is just a genetic mutation. In addition to them being able to produce laughing gas, which they so kindly use to suffocate people. Lovely Gibrage. Now they do occasionally feel other emotions, but mostly anger, and it's spurred by the rage part of their name. But their initial colours for the design were certainly something, but many of the aspects did stay the same after their first design pass, other than the colours, and it was later decided by me that Gibrage and Clover are close friends, and Gibrage only ever really feels happy around Clover. This is a neat, fun fact for you guys. It's not in the Book of Bones, really, but they do feel happy around Clover, and that's the main reason why Gibrage stays with the company and stays in association with Diego. Because their friendship isn't really mentioned that much. It's rarely mentioned, but is occasionally referenced with Clover's drawings on the walls, and it's briefly mentioned in the Book of Bones. But it's just unclear that Clover was actually referring to Gibrage in there. But yeah, Clover was also the last of the main 4. I put 4 in the script. It's 5. There's 5 of them. But Clover was the last in the main characters out of these 5 characters that we see in the text to be designed, although the basic premise was there early on in the form of the narrator, who is capable of breaking the 4th wall, and are directly addressing someone, whoever it might be. Their physical design, however, didn't come about until the first Book of Bones video I posted, which was the One Normal Night video. When designing their character, I wanted them to look not necessarily more unkept, but more immature and childish than the rest of the crew. Additionally, I wanted them to have longer hair than the rest of the characters who are in relation to them, for just reasons. It's got lore implications, but that's your guys' thing to figure out. I'm not revealing it. That's for you guys to figure out, right? And I've already given you enough with this video here, so what more do you want? Anyway, Clover's more childlike demeanour was never meant to indicate a younger age, but a sense of naivety and immaturity that they have as a result of brain damage that they received before the events of the Book of Bones. This, in turn, formed a dependency on their brother, as it resulted in their memory loss, as they frequently forget parts of information. This is not meant as an insult in any way, and they are still capable. However, it is an integral part of their character to note, in addition to the way they gradually building past in the Book of Flesh. We're not talking about that right now. Shh. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this lovely video. Don't set anyone fire unless it's the government, and remember, everything is a social construct.